The Kansas City Approach to Modern Money Theory by L. Randall Wray. Section 8. MMT and the Job Guarantee. As mentioned above, the beginnings of MMT can be dated to early 1996. Minsky had presented a paper at the annual American Social Science Association meeting in San Francisco in early January, and then stopped for a visit in St. Louis with his doctor on the way back to New York. He was diagnosed with advanced cancer and soon began treatment. He died in the fall. As a result, he was not directly involved in the creation of MMT. I did meet with him to talk about my work. I recall telling him I was including an employer of last resort proposal, and I mentioned the term modern money, which I was playing around with to work up a book title. He raised his eyebrow, but did not tell me about all his writings on the topic, nor did he tell me that he had used the term modern money as the working title of a book manuscript he had begun at Levy. In any event, in March 1997, we held a panel for the Eastern Economics Association, Roundtable on Hyman Minsky and Government as Employer of Last Resort. My first Levy working paper on the topic was published in November, Ray 1997, which drew heavily on Minsky's 1986 book, but did not cite his earlier work, which I had not yet discovered. Minsky used the term employer of last resort, which he said had been used during the New Deal era, to invoke a fiscal policy bookend to the central bank's lender of last resort responsibility. The private financial system cannot rescue itself when there is a run to a liquidity. The central bank must stand ready with a perfectly elastic supply of reserves. Similarly, a rise of liquidity preference would cause investment spending to collapse. Private employers cannot be expected to rescue the unemployed, for only the national government can provide a perfectly elastic demand for workers. The central bank was expected to provide ceilings and floors for asset prices, while the Treasury would ensure ceilings and floors for aggregate demand through the Employer of Last Resort program. Essentially, Minsky saw the Employer of Last Resort as the fiscal policy counterpart to the central bank's lender of last resort function. While Minsky would also support other kinds of countercyclical spending, targeting jobs to the unemployed was the key. For reasons discussed above, he was skeptical of both the Keynesian pump priming approach as well as of welfare programs. While the latter would be necessary, he argued that charity cannot be the basis of government anti-poverty policy. Minsky argued that with its fixed basic wage, the Employer of Last Resort program would not be inflationary. As noted above, he made a comparison to agricultural price support programs, which provide ceilings and floors to prices. They do not cause prices of covered products to rise, although they prevent them from falling. During shortages, government can release its buffer stocks of commodities to reduce price pressures. The Employer of Last Resort program operates in a similar manner. By contrast, Minsky saw both welfare and food stamp programs as potentially inflationary, as each of these increased demand for output without enhancing supply. Footnote 40. Minsky was particularly concerned that the food stamp program would simply drive up food prices, leaving the poor no better off. See Minsky, 2013. End footnote. Minsky saw the Employer of Last Resort alternative as price stabilizing so long as the basic wage is held relatively constant. Minsky would increase the program's wage on a pace determined by rising average labor productivity, and so long as Employer of Last Resort workers did something productive. Footnote 41. To reduce wage inequality, Minsky proposed that wages at the bottom would rise faster than labor productivity, while wages at the top would rise more slowly than labor productivity, compressing the wage structure. End footnote. Footnote 42. Minsky's vision of the Employer of Last Resort program was highly influenced by the U.S. Works Progress Administration, WPA, which contributed greatly to the economic development of the United States, preparing it for World War II and for the post-war boom. End footnote. The Kansas City Levy Job Guarantee proposal has always followed Minsky's lead. Like Minsky's proposal, ours is a universal program that takes workers as they are, where they are. It would strive to enhance skills on the job and would produce socially useful output. Funding would come from the national government. The program would pay a single wage to all participants, and it would include a package of benefits. We would pay a living wage plus benefits including health care and child care. This wage would become the national effective minimum wage. Minsky always argued that if there is any unemployment, the effective minimum wage is zero. Minsky used to wonder aloud whether the U.S. government had administrators as competent as those who ran the New Deal program, particularly after President Reagan had purposely put incompetent administrators in charge to destroy confidence in government's capacity. We took that to heart in constructing our proposal. The main difference between his and ours is that he modeled his employer of last resort on the WPA, centrally administered, while ours would be highly decentralized, with local governments and not-for-profits organizing the projects.